So we've been talking a lot about happiness and how to get it. I picked up this book from the library, not because I thought it would tell me about happiness, but because it was Japanese and I just eat that stuff up. But it is about this Japanese principle called Ikigai, which is a principle that doesn't translate entirely into English very well, but it's based on 5 pillars, they call it. I don't really understand them all. I kind of read through it quick and then I skimmed over it again so I could talk about it. But the first pillar is small things. It was saying to pay close attention to small details. They have another principle called kodawari, which is basically like focusing so hard on tiny details that you have like an amazing product. Or they talked about Miyazaki films and how Miyazaki has this sense of kodawari where he works not because he wants to make a lot of money, but because he has a very sincere love of small details. And he has retired before, and I guess he's retired again recently, but now they're saying that he's still working on some other movie. Another thing they said is to wake up early, and if you can't do that, eat chocolate with your coffee, or in our case, just like eat ice cream for breakfast. That's how I interpreted it. I tried it, and it made it really easy to wake up in the morning, but I was really tired for the rest of the day, probably because I ate ice cream instead of breakfast, which I probably should have just had breakfast also. Pillar 2 is to release yourself, to remove yourself from the equation, which is something I've heard before in other readings, I want to say. Maybe it was in the Tron Legacy movie when they were talking about books, but I like that idea. Number 3, I really didn't understand. It's called harmony and sustainability. The impression I got from it was, don't focus on huge amazing things and live for those amazing things, but instead enjoy the things that are reliable and that you have control over so that you know you can experience them regularly, which I would imagine would mean like don't rely on other people, but it says specifically to rely on other people. Something about community I didn't understand. Number 4 is to find joy in small things. Find joy in those often overlooked details or little things. It kind of reminds me of Dad. He had this thing about the economy canteen. I don't know if you remember that or if he told you about that. It's hard to explain, but I get it, but it's hard for me to explain it. Pillar number 5 is the here and now, and they said something like, everything happens the way it does only once, so enjoy it while it happens. A lot of times I get to the end of the week, I come home late on Friday night, and I'm just like, well, I've got 2 days off. Thank you, Memorial Day. Finger guns. Because how are you going to know that I'm talking with my hands unless I put them right up here by my face? They said relying on conditions out of your control for happiness is insane. You shouldn't do that, and I know that, but sometimes it's hard to feel that, I guess. The bluebird of happiness is inside of us all along. We just have to find it ourselves. Bleh. I have allergies. I know I said like what I really hate is video editing software, but no, I really hate the summer. I hate the summer more than a lot of things. And then they said something about big changes in life are often not accompanied by fanfare, but they're gradual changes that creep up on us slowly. We change through evolution, not revolution. Or at least, the way I understood it was, when we try to make changes with huge fanfare, they might not stick. But if you take it one step at a time, then it is more likely to stick. And I thought a lot about New Year's resolutions, and I think I'm going to do a video about that next. It's a good read. I'd recommend reading it. I didn't do it justice, but it's good. Or if you don't want to read it, what I did is I listened to it in the car, because I'm lazy and I hate reading. So the next book I'm going to read is not an audiobook, although it would be great if it was. It's Terry Crews, and he talks about being a man. Wouldn't that be great though? An audiobook of Terry Crews reading his own book. I wouldn't even go to the library to get it. I'd just buy it. I'd like go to the books. I'd go to a physical bookstore and buy it. Happy Memorial Day.